Play Island. Cast Show and Tell. Future Sight, get in. Pile Driver doesn't matter. Play LED. Play Pedal. Cast Abeyance. Doesn't matter that we're drawing this. We could hold priority and crack LED if we wanted, but don't have to here. And now they can't. In fact, you wouldn't even have to Ebony Charm here, but might as well. Now they can't use their Mog Fanatic. Black. And Doomsday. Oh, baby. That was sweet. Okay, welcome back to another pre-modern video. And this is a dono deck from Skirk 248. We're playing Doomsday. This deck is awesome. Played it a little bit on stream the other day. My initial reaction, just after goldfishing it a little bit and just looking at it, is that it's not that complicated. People love to say it's one of the most complicated decks, if not the most complicated deck in the format. And as we started playing it more, I started to understand why people think that. I mean, the short answer is because people are going to have Tormod's Crypt, and it really makes things difficult. Otherwise, in the event that there is no Tormod's Crypt or something similar, it's very straightforward. You need to have a Future Sight in play, and then you cast Doomsday, and you stack some mana, whether it be Dark Rituals or LEDs, and then the last two cards in your pile are Ebony Charm, which drains them for 1. And then you cast Doomsday again at the end of the pile. Now, the reason this works is because you have a Doomsday in your graveyard from having cast it prior to, and you can access that one to put it back in your pile. And then you just stack the pile once again with mana into Ebony Charm, and then Doomsday. In every iteration, you drain them for 1. Obviously, Doomsday winds up putting you eventually down to 1 life. And then the next iteration, Ebony Charm, puts you back up to 2. And so on and so forth. Which brings me to why I'm playing Abeyance. You can't beat Burn. You just can't, unless they have 0 damage available, which is going to happen approximately never. 1 Mog Fanatic, 1 Active Lavamancer, 1 Seal of Fire, 1 Bolt in Hand, whatever it is, anything, and you're dead, because you're eventually going to go down to 1, and then they're going to get you. And Orm's Chant, sure, stops them from casting spells, but it's not going to stop Mog Fanatic, it's not going to stop Grim Lavamancer, it's not going to stop Seal of Fire. These are cards that are often played. So, I think Abeyance is... I mean, if your deck just says literally I can't beat Burn at all, I mean, that's a choice. And maybe this card isn't good enough to be playing it to give us a chance against Burn. Maybe the Burn matchup is that bad, even still, without Abeyance, in which case I'd just play Chant, and sure, you'd just lose the Burn. You can put a different package in your sideboard, or even main deck, with like the Tin Fins thing. But then you have random monsters that don't do anything in your deck. You could also set it up with Brain Freeze, right? You could have mana, Brain Freeze them, Doomsday, mana, Brain Freeze them, Doomsday. The problem with that is you need to have a certain amount of life, because Ebony Charm allows you to actually iterate infinitely. However, it doesn't take too much Brain Freezing. But it would still not be the best against Burn, because you're still going to go either close to 1 life or actually 1 life. But I've also seen both. By seeing, I mean, I played against it once. My opponent did Doomsday, then they untapped. They cast a Brain Freeze in their upkeep, which milled the 3 monsters, and then they Shallow Graved. It's an option. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know all the nuances of this deck, because I've hardly played it. And maybe that's what people are talking about when they're talking about the high skill cap, the difficulty. It's all the wonky scenarios that do come up as you start playing out the games. So we should likely wind up in some interesting scenarios. I didn't make too many changes to the list I was given. I think for the most part it's pretty solid. The only thing I did was there were 2 Duress, 2 grids. Grid is like all or nothing. because sometimes one grid eventually isn't enough, so you have to stack them. So 2 grids just feels weird. I almost had 1 because maybe you want 1 in your pile, especially if you have a bunch of extra mana and you just don't want to have to think of what they could have. Instead, just play grid and, well, they can't do anything. Again, not a solution to burn because they can have damage on board, but I think Duress is just a better card as well. I like having access to the grid so that we have more disruption post-board. We're potentially overboarded on that sort of thing. There was, of course, a main deck orange chant that I switched to an Abeyance for the reasons previously described. You know, is 10 of these things post-board against certain blue decks going to be too much? We'll see. And then, I don't know, to me there's enough Meddling Mage in the format that I just want something in the main deck that can deal with it. We're pretty cold to it, otherwise, like literally. You can't play Chain of Vapor, or you can, but it's just a really easy way for them to bounce your Future Sight, which is why you see Rushing River. And you could play a Rushing River, and yes, I know there's no way to actually find it, but this deck is actually pretty good at finding stuff between Lim-Dul's Vault, cantrips, and just getting a Future Sight going. But also, the thing about Infest is it's just good in the format. Like, there are a ton of X2s, and we do need time against aggro, so I think it's pretty rare that it's going to be a bad draw, and I think it's going to be often enough where you're going to be looking for it. So, I don't know. The more I play this deck, maybe I realize you need more of this card, but also maybe possible you just shouldn't play it. And the Lim-Dul's Vault was at 4. I've gone down to 3. I have been very impressed with this card. On stream, we cast it on turn 2, looking to set up, and then we killed them instead. Because we had, like, mana and a ritual and an LED and a sleight of hand, and we just cracked into the Lim-Dul's Vault, and were able to cast the Future Sight and stack a Doomsday, or stack an LED and a Doomsday. It was crazy. Maybe I'm insane for going to 3 of this card. It might be just that good. But whatever, it's a small enough change. And then the rest of the sideboard, you know, I'm not going to get too deep on it. I'm not familiar with the deck or the format enough to know just how solid it is. But there's a lot of stuff here that makes sense, so we will run it. I will say the one thing that really did come up as a complicated scenario, and I talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but is Tormod's Crypt and how you beat Tormod's Crypt. The problem isn't that, oh, they're going to hit your Ebony Charm and then you can Ebony Charm. The problem mostly is that they can pretty much hit anything and it doesn't work anymore. In fact, just hitting your Doomsday that is sitting in the graveyard is enough because you can't keep re-Doomsdaying. Remember, you don't cast Doomsday and then put the Doomsday that you cast into the stack, into your Doomsday. That's not how it works. The Doomsday is on the stack. You don't have access to it. You have access to multiple Doomsdays because one is on the stack and you put one in your pile, but as soon as they crypt you, it doesn't matter what they crypt because your Doomsday is going to be in the graveyard, so they can crypt at any point. In fact, they can even just let you go through the iteration once so that they know all of the cards in your pile, unless, of course, you leave the last card. You don't necessarily have to go through all of your pile. Which brings me to what I think is the best way to deal with crypt, but for me only works once. It involves Stifle, right? Because you can set up Hurkles and Stifle. Hurkles to make them use the crypt, and then put a Stifle underneath it. And it's the way to go, or you can use Abeyance in this case. It's the way to go, although be careful because it's going to draw a card. But it's the way to go if you have a certain amount of mana, but you can't do it all with just your pile, right? Because Hurkles is 1 card, Stifle is 2 cards, you need Ebony Charm, that's 3 cards, and you need a Doomsday is 4 cards. You only have room for 1 piece of mana, so if it's LED, that's only 3 mana. So if you don't have any mana going into it, that's not enough mana. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know you don't have the 3 for Doomsday, 1 for Charm, 2 for Hurkles, and 1 for Stifle. Sure, you only need the Hurkle Stifle once, but then you still only have an LED, Doomsday, and Ebony Charm. So as you can see, this is where things do actually get quite complicated. And I think one of the best ways that it would work once, probably, not even definitely, right? They can just crypt first thing, but you can put a Stifle at the bottom of your pile. And I would imagine once Ebony Charm is in the graveyard and you cast Doomsday, that's when they're going to crypt you, and then you have Stifle available. Of course, you could have it in your hand as well, which would be a nice little cheeky thing. You can set up Dark Rituals instead of LEDs, so you don't have to discard your hand. But then you have to have a blue up front. And the thing is, once you do that once, now they're kind of privy to it, right? So they might just crypt you right at the start. You could try to, I think at that point, the best thing to do is to literally put Stifle on top. This is provided you're not dead, of course, and you have to pass the turn and hope they don't bounce your future sight, etc. But put Stifle on top and pass, and then you draw into it. If at any point they do crypt you, you have the Stifle. You do, of course, have to have a blue available, but then as you go into your turn, you now have it in your hand, and at that point you can set up the Dark Rituals, and should be able to stifle the crypt at will. And that's all to say, I've only played a bit and put some thought and a bit of discussion. There might be better ways to deal with this stuff. Maybe there's something in the card pool that just is easy. No Rod is not good, I'll say that, right? Because you're turning off your own LEDs. And, I mean, maybe it's okay, you can get it into play earlier, and then you can try to get there without your LEDs, which is pretty tough to pull off, but we're capable. But it's not something you can put in the pile, right? Like, there are ways that you can deal with it beforehand, having an Abeyance in your hand and enough mana to cast it prior to end step, Hercules, recall. Like, there's all sorts of ways, but there's no clear cut, just like, you have a crypt, I'm casting Doomsday, my pile beats your crypt. Unless it goes down a certain way. And like I said, I think that would only work the one time. And it's kind of like a mind game where you put your Stifle. Except, and this is the circumstance in which you can beat it with a pile if you have enough mana up front. Because you would make your first spell something that, whether it be Abeyance or Hercules or whatever, something that makes them crack the crypt, and then the Stifle to be able to stifle it. But the pile itself won't be able to do that. At least to my knowledge. Alright, this deck check has been entirely too long. I know some of y'all love it, but YouTube certainly doesn't. The algorithm. So, let's get after it. Let's see how much we fumble this. I'll see you in round one. Alright, here we go. Round one against Ghostface Killer. We have an acceptable hand. I'm going to keep run the play. All is good. Let's go for a sleight of hand off Basic Island. Doomsday. I will take that. Now, unlike something like Legacy or Vintage, you don't want to just be firing off Doomsdays, like, immediately. I mean, there are some circumstances where you can. Maybe it works out, but you have to get Future Sight into play, so so much can go wrong if you Doomsday and it doesn't work out. Alright, they probably got some counter spells in their deck. That's alright, we're making land drops. Ooh, I want both of these cards. Probably want Duress more, though. And I'm going to cast it. I want to know what I'm playing against. This is what I figured it was. We got a pretty good hand, too. Holy moly. I'm going to take Foil, because it's the free counterspell. Making them hold up counterspell can get a little bit weird for them, but they do have an Impulse, so that they can find another land drop. And then once they get third land drop on turn 4, they can Gush. Replay the island. That's a good one. Like, casting Doomsday here, you probably just lose because of it. Unless they just say, no, I'm just going to counter it. And then it's a pretty expensive Duress, because I'd have to use Dark Writ. Okay. Impulse, they find their next land. Alright, let's cast this lim-duls. See if they want to do anything about it. They shouldn't, in my opinion. But they might. Alright, it resolves. Lands. Cantrips, another lim-duls. Not the worst, but I don't think it's good enough. I really want, like, a Duress and a fetch land. I can keep hitting their hand. No, I don't think this is good enough either. This one... That's a Duress and a fetch land. I'd rather have, like, Duress and a Future Sight. Let me dig a little deeper. Duress... No, let's keep going. No, one's bad. Right, there's a Future Sight and a Duress and a fetch land. This is what we want. This is what we want. Go and Tell not so much. But the Future Sight in our hand. and duress, and then the fetch land. We're still pretty far away from winning this game. I need all those cards. I could like pick up a show and tell, but I don't think I want to waste the whole turn drawing show and tell. I'd rather shuffle the pile. I mean, in my opinion, they should have already been casting Gush in their main phase, but I guess they want to have double counterspell up. It's interesting. Okay. And step and impulse. We've got 6 cards. We know 2 of them are counterspell. We know we'd be drawing show and tell and then a land, which I don't want, so I'm going to shuffle those away. Maybe I do want show and tell, because they have to counter it. That's interesting. Yeah, it's basically a duress here. Okay, I'm going to draw the show and tell. Okay, they're going to portent themselves. Draw the show and tell, and then we're hoping to draw a petal so we can use abeyance. Possible this deck wants some number of rainbow lands. But it's tough. It's only 1 abeyance. Or chant if that's what you're playing. Oh shit, I stacked the land above it? Yeah, I guess I didn't care about the last 2 because I planned on shuffling it. Well, land is not like terrible, but it's definitely not what we want. I'd love to slam a future sight, but then show and tell isn't all that threatening, is it? They're gonna get in with factory. Makes sense. Draw our show and tell finally. We're gonna cast it. They're gonna counter it. The question is, if I Dark Ritual Doomsday, do they counter that? That would be nice if they did. And I think our best bet is hoping that they do. And then next turn, you can go Duress plus Future Sight. I guess I'm 1 mana shy. I'll have to Duress this turn. I counter Dark Rit now. Oh, that's even better. Alright, I don't think I have enough mana to have the luxury of holding on to this Duress. Oh, and they have a Daze. Sure, they still have Gush. I'm gonna get in for 2. They don't have any known counters. This card is not good for us right now. So dead if we cast Doomsday. I think we're mostly just not gonna get there. We're going to game 2. Or at least gonna cast Gush. Foil discarding Island and Flash of Insight. Pretty brutal. Now they flash. Or Gush first, I guess. Weird time to Gush. Okay, what do we got here? Certain death? We can drain them for 1. Buy us a turn. We Doomsday, we die. Gushing again. Just passing. Interesting. Start a couple islands. We draw a land. I'm going to... I guess they don't necessarily know it's Doomsday, so I'm not going to Ebony Charm. I'm just going to go next. Not happening. Okay, we need grids. I don't want the infest. And second abeyance probably doesn't make sense. Only these petals. I guess we do have spheres as well. Alright, I'm going to play it. I'm going to trim a lim-dul's vault. I will trim one of the chromatic spheres and one of the petals, despite the fact that they cast our abeyance. I guess a dark rit. Okay. I guess we'll keep this. Desperately need the land drops. But we do have multiple duress, so I like that. Okay, we're going to lead on duress. A lot of gush. Let's make the portent and hope that they also miss on land drops. Or hope that they miss on land drops and we don't. Abeyance. One of the worst draws in the deck. Good Doomsday. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. If they drew an island, obviously that's not good for us. But then they will have to discard their second land drop. As well as the foil and another card. Resolves, huh? So we need to get Future Sight into play. I think a scary show and tell. We need the Ebony Charm. We need another Doomsday. And need another mana source. I guess it can be... Can it be Petal? No. I think it has to be LED. Otherwise I won't be able to get through my pile. Okay. Those are my cards. Then we go... Doomsday on the bottom. Charm on top of it. An LED. And show and tell, then scary. And our plan is... play Scary and Duress, then hope the following turn Show and Tell resolves, and kill them. As long as they drew their second island, it's really bad for us. That's also bad for us. Or yeah, we know about Stifle and Dreadnought, so we basically needed to fade the island, and we didn't. It wasn't going to get better by waiting, though. Not the problem, right? Yeah. Duress. Wait, how'd they have another island? Oh, they cast Portent, so they found multiple. Or no, we discarded that. Did they miss a land drop? Even though they had it? I don't know. But we died. This is definitely not an easy matchup, but we had a reasonable chance. We also could have just taken Stifle out of the Portent. Who knows? See you in round 2. There we go, round 2 against F3D. I will keep this hand. Playing against Goblins. It's probably a tough one for us. Any aggro is pretty tough. Sorry, tough. I am just going to play out a Chromatic Sphere. And they get in with Lackey. Siege Gang. Infest would be a nice draw. Okay. I think we're going to lim-duls. Basically trying to find Infest or a way to win. Goblin King. Was that too much damage? Possibly. Depends what this lim-duls vault comes up with. Okay. I mean, as it stands, still an Infest is really good. But we also have ways to just win. Since we have Chromatic Sphere on board. And draw into 2 of these cards. We find Show and Tell. Show and Tell Future Sight. I think we need an LED as well. Real life. No. Doesn't do it. There's a Future Sight. That's not going to do it though. Oh no. Wait, does this work? Because I'm going to have 3 or 5. I will have 5 mana. I think this works. 1, 2, 3 for 5. Crack Sphere. I'll wind up paying 2 life either way. Fetch and or Underground River. But then I won't have mana to cast Doomsday. This, can we... This is getting complicated, huh? I'm gonna have to fetch. I can't Doomsday first. Maybe I can. If I draw the LED, I go Dark Rit, Doomsday, crack the Sphere using the LED. I think that works. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Yeah, that does work. Okay. Alright. So we draw the LED. And we have to play Underground River. And need to tap these for Doomsday. Play LED. Cast Dark Rit. Hold priority. Cast Doomsday. Make blue. And then draw the Future Sight. We got him. Alright, so we want LED, Doomsday, Ebony Charm. Doesn't really matter. Dark Rit. And then we put Doomsday at the bottom, Ebony Charm, Dark Rit, put the LEDs on top. We'll play our Future Sight, and we win at 1 life. This is pretty sick. Black, Dark Rit, Drain ya. I will show how this works, right? So 1 Doomsday on the stack, 1 is in our pile. And then we use these 5. Doomsday, Charm, mana. And you just go through it again. I'll do it one more time, and then we will skip to where they scoop, or they die. So again, you go Doomsday, and you just put the Doomsday on the bottom. Okay, cool. They scooped it up. In paper, it's a lot easier, because once you've shown the loop, you know. And then, of course, on Moto, most people are going to scoop after a few iterations, and once they understand it. So the more I play this deck, the more I'm convinced that lim-dul's Vault really is the nuts, especially when you combine it with Chromatic Sphere. Makes me want to play Chromatic Sphere and Tin Fins, for Christ's sake. But it's probably incorrect to only be playing 3 of these. At the same time, they are certainly diminishing on their returns, playing them in multiples. Okay, Goblins, so I want the other Infest. We're going to be dealing with Tormod's Crypt, so we're going to need Stifle. We play Divert against Pyroblast. Pyroblast is brutal. It's an example where Pyroblast is actually worse than Red Elemental Blast. That's pretty interesting. Could just play grids. I can do that on a turn and then end combo instead of like having to duress on the same turn or duress and pass and get wrecked by Pyroblast. But I need Hercules, want Rushing River. I'm not going to play the Abeyance. I do need to cut some things. I don't know. I really don't know what. We're running out of time. I'm going to trim one of the duress and one of the petals and one of the lim-duls, even though that's probably wrong. Okay, I will keep. There's the crypt. Oh, that's a good draw. Play out the scary. I guess another thing you could do to beat crypt is you could put an extra Doomsday in your pile. No, then they can just wait and hit Ebony Charm. Yeah, we're getting ported. Let's just play this Chromatic Sphere. And pass the turn. Swamp, huh? This is gonna hurt. Let's hope they name Doomsday. But we do have 2 of the card that they are supposed to name. It's always the worst. And of course, if they just play a Goblin, they can, even if they miss. They name lim-dul's Vault. I don't think it's the best name, but we did have 2 of them in our hand. Now they're debating, do I tap the Scary or do I just play a Goblin and take both the future sites? I think either way we're not in great shape here. I'm gonna play a Mog Fanatic. Well, it's also pretty impossible to win with that just in play. This is just a pile of cards that are like impossible to beat. Okay. So we hold the duress. I mean, we had a chance there if we drew future sight. Now it's gonna be pretty, well, might give us another chance here. War Chief, sure. Wow, we did draw it. Yeah. Put that bad boy into play. They don't have Pyroblast, otherwise they would have, they wouldn't have held up black. That, well, I guess to play War Chief they had to. Oh, shit. I mean, I think I still had to play it, but let's hope they don't have Pyroblast. Feels like Pyroblast. Yep. God, we're pretty close to scooping here, but I guess we're supposed to keep playing. Sure. Draw with this sphere. Wow, I did draw another one. I'm going to play it and use it. We need to hit land drops. Alright, we did find a land. This is our last future site here. We keep tapping down our Scary. Yes. I guess that means I'm going to duress now. No guarantee we're going to have the mana to cast this future site if we don't. Okay, they do not have a blast currently, but do have some aggression for us. 2, 4, 7, and 2 Tormod's Crypt. Jeez. And they can put us the 1 next turn. Peat Bog. Rushing River. I mean, that's a good card. We need to find... First, we need them to not draw anything. And then we need to find Ebony Charm so that we can go back up to 2 and then cast Doomsday. After we cast Rushing River on these crypts. It is non-zero. Say that. Nope. We died. Oh, I don't even get to see... Well, we made it closer than it should be, simply just because we drew into all 4 future sites. God, Cabal Therapy is such a beating. I think duress is pretty important on the play so that we can hit their Cabal Therapy. Obviously, we also need to hit their blasts. Kind of a nightmare matchup, huh? Abeyance can work on Tormod's Crypt. It's really hard to cast. Also pretty good against blast. Guess I'll play them. No, it's just too much. It's just too much to set up. Too much to worry about here. Okay. I will keep this hand. And I'm going to lead on Bog. Good lead on Duress, so we can take Tormod's Crypt, but then we have no blue mana. Alright, no Crypt is nice. Doomsday's interesting. Could Duress them and lim-duls. I really want to get Sphere into play first, though. It makes lim-duls a lot more threatening. So let's just play out this Sphere. Lackey. They're definitely holding up Blast. LED is very interesting. I think I still want more resources, though. Like, I can Duress and try to push through this lim-dul's Vault, but I'm not really seeing a combination of cards that get there. Now we're getting hit by Lackey, and they have a port. God, this matchup is such hard mode. Tinkerer. Yeah, that's tapped. Alright, Scary's nice. Play that. You're gonna kill this sphere, so... Oh man. It is a great draw. You'd hope they only have one blast. They only have one blast. Okay. We gotta hope they don't put Mog Fanatic in play. How many cards can they have that are impossible to beat? Maybe they don't play Fanatic. I don't know why you wouldn't, though. I guess they might, like, put Matron in and then play a different Goblin with that. That's what we're hoping. But really, just put Mog Fanatic into play and it's almost impossible to win. They swamp. Damn, they wanted to play War Chief, but they... What? Not gonna play either? I mean, they drew a blast? Do I have the lim-duls here? I think so. And I have to hit Black Source. If I hit Black Source, then I'll have Black Source plus Scary, and I can go Dark Rit Doomsday. No way to Future Sight. I think the answer is actually no. No one card that gets us there off the top. If both our Bog and Island are tapped, with the hope to draw Show and Tell or a Black Source naturally. Okay. Chromatic Sphere. Peat Bog. Guess I'll take Peat Bog. But the Sphere is interesting. I mean, we're not quite dead yet. Play a land. We're gonna play the War Chief. They've done everything except play this Fanatic, which I do love. But I am worried about Blast. And I don't see why they would hold it. Like, at the very least, they're gonna put it in off a Lackey. But they might have something else, yeah. Okay, so what? Now they hit our Scary. They didn't hit anything. I think they're dead now. Unless they have Blast. Entirely possible. They have no way to draw into a Doomsday situation. I could Rushing River and recast. Huh. They've also got a Tinkerer at the ready. Well, I think it's now or never here. So Dark Rit. Play Petal. Yeah, Rushing River is not going to be able to bounce Future Sight anyways, because they're just going to counter it on the stack. And then I wouldn't be able to, like, do shenanigans with LED. Because I'd be discarding my Doomsday, plus they can just kill the LED. There's too much going on. We just can't beat Blast. Okay. Guess they don't have it. So I do have to Rushing River, bounce, Fanatic, might as well bounce Tinkerer. Sack a land. Sure, you got me. The LED, because why not? And play Doomsday. Holy moly. They could have prevented this. Yeah, so I think we just do a normal pile here. I guess I can get a Duress in there. Why not? Doomsday at the bottom. Ebony Charm. Duress, Dark Rit, LED. If their goal is to just try and time us out, we'll just call it a win and leave. But let's see how this goes here. Yeah, they don't have anything. And then we drain them. And then we Doomsday. Good Charm. LED, Dark Rit, Doomsday. Wow. That was insane. Well, 1-1, 0-3. Hey everyone, thanks for making it this far. Just wanted to thank everybody, and if you're looking for more, show you where you can find that. If you go to the description below, you can find all of my links. If you go further down in the comments, you can also find my links for bring you to my Patreon, various tiers for Discord access, early access, sideboard guides, donation decks, coaching sessions. You can also check out the podcast within those links, as well as my Twitch, where I do most of my content. You can see the commands that you can use in the chat. Let's say you do dono. You're wondering how to get a link, how to do it. Tells you right here. And the members Discord is within the Storm, MTG Storm community. And of course, it's always going to help if you hit the like and subscribe. So thanks again. Keep storming, y'all. Okay, round 3 ends ErnieSP. We're on the play. And our hand is acceptable. Basically, any hand with these depletion lands tends to be pretty gas. Play out this Scary. I said GLHF. They said, what? Question mark. Smiley face. I don't know who doesn't know what GLHF stands for, but I guess we found the one person who didn't get that memo. Sorry, I'm new. New to any gaming at all, ever? For the past 2 decades? Or longer? Not even just gaming. Sports? Well, I guess you're not typing it in sports. Okay. Digress. +1/+2 as long as an opponent controls a non-basic land. Okay. How did they get... They use Spirit Guide. Okay. Well. Infest, falling a bit short here. There's a world where I use my Scary at some point to infest successfully. It's more likely we just win next turn instead, though. So, we can play out Sphere. Of course, the awkwardness is I kind of have to use Scary and then main phase the lim-dul's Vault. We'd be looking for... We wouldn't have enough... Well, basically be looking for a future site that has the win with it. Or just a future site in a Doomsday and an LED actually works. They figured it out. Alright, let's play Sphere. Let's lim-dul's Vault. Okay, this one does not work. As a future site, it almost works by way of show and tell. I'd be 1 mana shy. This one has no future sight. This one has no future sight. Nor does this. I believe this one works. We can draw Dark Writ, and then we'll have 2, 4, 6 mana, 9 mana with the LED. Oh yeah. Say no. Put Charm, Sphere away. Doomsday. Future sight. Draw the Dark Writ next turn. If they blow up Sphere, it doesn't matter actually, because we still... Or it does matter. This isn't like whatever the other one is that draws a card when it gets sacrificed. This is part of the cost. Chromatic Star. You kill it, they still draw a card. Okay. That kind of sucks, huh? Pendelhaven at home. Alright, our opponent has died. On turn 3, not bad. Not bad, not bad. Go... Dark Writ. In fact, this pile didn't even have to have Doomsday in it. So I can do what I did last time, where I just put Doomsday on the stack, hold priority, crack LED, crack the Sphere, and draw the enchantment. Future Sight. I always forget the name of that card. Get used to it. Just call it the enchantment. The only enchantment in the deck. Play out Island. The LED. We wouldn't even need this island. We do have 1 extra mana. Actually, even more than that, given... No. 1 extra mana. Alright, he'll priority cast Doomsday. Make blue. I mean, you could also just put it in the pile. That would work too. But it is on the top of our deck, so... Might as well just put it in our hand. And then, LED... LED... Ebony Charm... Doomsday... Infest, because why not? Done... Doomsday on the bottom. Ebony Charm. Infest. LED. LED. It's I can't wait to see what crazy combo is coming. Go LED. Make black. Go LED. Make black. Cast Infest because we can. Target the opponent. I don't have enough mana to Infest again, but it was fun to cast it. It just means you put it on the bottom of the pile. LED, LED, Charm, Doomsday, Infest, that at the bottom. Although honestly I could Infest and then just pass, do it next turn, but it's all good. Or no, I can do it, because I can net mana on this iteration. What's the name of the deck? Doomsday. Yeah, because now we don't Infest this time, but then we have extra mana. Better believe I'm gonna do it next time. Yoink, 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 and yoink. Put Doomsday on the bottom this time. Charm, Infest, LED, LED. I will give you the satisfaction of seeing me kill these creatures and then we'll zip to the next game. Get out of here. And we'll zap ya. Doomsday. Alright, see you in the next game. They said, are you going to play the Ebony Charm 17 times? I said, yeah. No, I'm going to pass the turn. Alright. Despite them having 2 3s, I still think Infest is pretty good. And could buy us some time. Probably want a Rushing River just in case. I'm just going to cut the Duress. And play Rushing River, Stifle, Urkels. Let's try that. Our opponent said, sorry, I have to go. We'll message you later. Well, that's a bummer, but we'll call it a dub, I guess. We'll see in round 4. Alright, round 4. Holy shit, it's LarryBird. Didn't think he played Magic, but here we are. Uh-oh. We do have in hand the one card that could potentially beat Burn. We also have Future Sight. Kind of have the wrong depletion land, though, huh? Really putting us to the test. I guess Infest could also really help, potentially. Oh, okay, so it's Goblins again, which I think we got lucky to beat last time when they just decided to not port us. We had exactly enough mana to bounce their Fnatic and win. Okay, we got a 19. So, am I supposed to Doomsday here? So if I do Doomsday, first off, the pile has to have Show and Tell. And then the bottom has to have Doomsday and Ebony Charms. That leaves 2 cards. One has to be a white source that casts Abeyance. I guess I can use LED on a second iteration. By Doomsday now, I'll be at 9. I'm going to take at least 2 to 7. And then a second iteration would put me to 3. No, it would be 4, because I'm going to Ebony Charm them. I guess I don't necessarily have to, but yeah, I think I Doomsday now. I guess I'll get Swamp to do it. We'll get Swamp, cast the Doomsday. I will say this deck has been more complicated than I even thought the other day. The more I play it, the more I realize. Sure, the straightforward win is not complicated, but you know, casting Doomsday when you don't have Future Sight, these are things that create some wild spots. Okay, so I want Show and Tell. Or I need Show and Tell. I need another Doomsday. I need the Ebony Charm. And I think I can just go LED LED. Was the next turn, cast Show and Tell to put Future Sight in. I go LED LED. I charm them. Re-Doomsday. Yeah. I mean, I could also put Petal. I don't have to Re-Doomsday. Does that have enough mana? Thanks to the Dark Writ? No, and our lands? Yeah, then I don't even have to Doomsday twice. We'll get Petal instead. So then, Doomsday on the bottom. Charm. Petal, LED, Show and Tell. God, Fnatic's annoying. I think it's for this exact reason that you have to have Abeyance in your deck. I know we have it in our hand, coincidentally, but we could have put it in the pile and made it work here. So, might as well Dark Writ, because why not? Play Island. Cast Show and Tell. Future Sight, get in. Pile Driver doesn't matter. Play LED. Play Petal. Cast Abeyance. Doesn't matter that we're drawing this. We could hold priority and crack LED if we wanted, but don't have to here. And now they can't. In fact, you wouldn't even have to Ebony Charm here, but might as well. Now they can't use their Mog Fnatic. Black. And Re-Doomsday. Oh, baby. That was sweet. That was really sweet. I guess I don't mind a second Abeyance. And again, I need the Duresses for Pyro. And Infest is just pretty good. Then I want Rushing River, Stifle, Hercules. I think I still will trim a lim-duls. It's tough though, there's like no good, maybe second Abeyance doesn't make sense. If we want one for a pile, I think mostly like Infesting also can do it. I do like my main deck of having Infest and Abeyance, so that I have 2 ways to deal with it. And they both have plenty of use case otherwise. It's just protection and a sweeper. I genuinely don't know what to cut, though. I guess on the draw I can cut a land. Can't afford to be cutting basics because it makes our fetches worse. I don't want to cut depletions because they're best lands. Underground River is very efficient at being both colors, so I guess it's a fetch from one of the sleight of hands. I trim a Dark Root, but I do want to be going fast. I'm just going to play 61. I will keep this hand. This hand is pretty good. Hope he mulls the 6. Lackey. It's aggressive. No Tormods? Okay. Dark Red is very interesting. This is so close to a turn 1. We can go up to 5 mana. It is potentially a turn 1. If we find an LED, you go to 5, 6, back down to 5. Oh, it's 1 shy, right? So you go down a mana, and then we'd only have 2 blue. But we're setting up for an intense turn 2, potentially. We get wastelanded. That's really bad. I mean, depending on what we draw, it might not matter, but I definitely didn't want to see wasteland. Ringleader. Goodbye, Red Blast. Mountain. Double War Chief. Okay, land is good. I'm going to play out another Chromatic Sphere. I want my best chances of drawing into a duress, so I don't just get blasted. I guess it's non-zero that they tap out, but probably closer to 0 than non. That doesn't make sense, but I like the sound of it. Alright, War Chiefs are in, or I'm sorry, one of them are in. Not tapping out a red. Another Dark Red. So what if I Doomsday first and put a... That doesn't make sense. So if I Doomsday and pass, I'll be at 8. 2, 4, 5. That was way too high a chance we just die. I probably should have done that last turn, though. Well, given that I didn't, and that I can't this turn, it is best to wait one more turn. And then start firing off Dark Rituals and cracking these and hoping we run into some protection so that we don't lose the blast. It is possible we are dead. I guess as it stands, technically I can't get the triple blue because I have to filter my blue and, well, I guess that's not true. I can use Petal for Dark Rits and then get triple blue right here. Alright, so they just put another War Chief into play. We're not dead quite yet. They clearly have either green Disenchant or Blast. Play the land. I think I'm actually going to wait one more turn. Still a pretty high chance we're... In fact, very high chance at this point that we're dead. They rip a Tormod's Crypt. Well, there's a lot of lethal goblins that exist. I'll say that. So, there were worse draws for us. Ringleader. Don't want to see Fanatic. Oh, it's the only goblin they did get. Something tells me they're not going to play it, though. So they 100% have Blast. Alright. It's Dark Rit. Dark Rit. Is it worth Doomsdaying first? 3, 4. I think I'm supposed to Doomsday first. And put a Bance on top. The problem with that is they're gonna Crypt in response. And then we lose our Doomsday. I can put an extra Doomsday in the pile. Or I can put a Stifle underneath the Abeyance. I have enough mana for all this. I have 8, 9, 10, 7, Abeyance to 5, Future Sight. So our Doomsday pile is going to have Abeyance, of course, 2 Doomsdays, an LED. Problem is our Dark Rits are going to be gone for Tormod's Crypt. I'm only going to be left with LED. So let's Dark Rit. It's Doomsday. I guess it's actually just Stifle. This is 1 mana cheaper. And I can always draw into it, making blue. So Stifle, instead of putting an extra Doomsday. 1 Doomsday, of course. Ebony Charm, of course. LED. And then have the 4 blue. We'll put Doomsday on the bottom. Oh, shit. The problem is, should have Dark Red, not LED. Maybe Petal can kind of bail me out. Ebony Charm, LED, Stifle on top. get a blue. Yeah, I need to put Stifle on the bottom of this, I think. Play Petal. We need them to, like, randomly crack the crypt. Play Future Sight. Play LED. Destroy all non-aura enchantments. Yeah, they just had that. That, Stifle's not gonna stop that. I'll zap you for one. They are gonna crypt, which is funny. I'm gonna Stifle so it's in their head. And then we'll use something else next time. But we did die. Yeah, they had double interaction. We could have gotten there if we had Doomsday 2 turns earlier and passed. Then we could have set up an abeyance prior to playing anything. Interesting. I will keep... I'm actually going to hold up Stifle. That's one way we could cheese a win. It's just stifling a fetch land. They are playing red and green. There's a Tormod's Crypt. And a Skirk. Sure. Well, now I'm just going to play out Chromatic Sphere. And Peat Bog. Because I wouldn't stifle a fetch if I could now. Double Crypt. Ooh. I would have loved to have stifled that, though. That's definitely a reason to have not played Peat Bog yet. Not the end of the world, but I wish I had played Underground River. Invest is nice. Sleight of hand. I don't hate Duress, but I think we need more land, so I'm going to do what I should have done last turn. Feel pretty good about this game. Despite them having already a lot of interaction, a lot of ways to deal with it, and they're not putting a ton of pressure yet. If they do, we can infest. There's that wasteland. I do think it's worth stifling. If they have and want to use a blast, that's fine. If they don't, just getting in for one. Alright, let's get the scary out there. 2, 4, 5, 6. Now I'd really like to find a Duress. Ugh, port. Okay. I'm gonna port our scary. Yep. Land is pretty good. I do have enough to Future Sight next turn. Don't know that it's worth just slamming it, though. Especially when they're representing Pyroblast. Without a lot of pressure. Yep. Tap the scary. Gonna play out another scary. Pile driver. Okay. Do we wait one more turn to infest, or do we infest this turn? Port us. I'll play Peat Bog. And I'm gonna wait a turn. Could be fatal. They got a hasty goblin plus another pile driver. We're actually just dead. There's the haster. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This does hurt a lot. Now we're at 5. I don't hate our spot though. Now they're tapped out of Pyroblast. I'm gonna hit our bog. Okay. I think I play Future Sight. That right into play. LED on top, love it. Petal, love it. Duress. I don't love it. I think I want to infest. It won't matter if I kill them this turn. But if I have to pass, it's pretty good. Plus, we're duressing them. Playing Swamp and Sphere feels very similar to not playing Swamp. Shoot, I got a phone call, so now my clock is even lower. I'm going to play the Swamp. Cast the Duress. Siege Gang and Ringleader. I don't want to cast Show and Tell. Play Petal. Play Chromatic Sphere. Black. Or do we just pass here? I think I just pass. Ringleader doesn't kill us. Siege Gang doesn't kill us. If I find Doomsday, I'm going to lose to Tormod's Crypt. I need to set up Abeyance. Obviously, we need them to not draw Red Blast or just something that kills Future Sight. There might be some goblins that kill us too. They just immediately draw Naturalize. Yeah, I mean, not much I can do about that. Just immediately. Tap down our Peat Bog. Nope, they tap their own land by accident, which doesn't really matter from here, but... Okay, let's make, I don't know, black. Ebony Charm. Let's make... Guess I want to make a white in case I draw... Nope. Oh, I can't even cast this. Otherwise they can just crypt it away. Okay. Well, we have one more draw, and basically has to be Future Sight. Okay, we go to 2. Has to be Future Sight, and then has to have like Petal Abeyance or Rushing River. Yep. That does not do it. Let's see. It's not going to let us look. I think we're a pretty high chance to win if they didn't just rip a Naturalize immediately. Having said that, I'm sure they have, you know, X amount of Naturalize and Blast. They were probably on like a 15 to 20% outer. And then we're whatever percent chance to actually win when we untap, which may or may not have happened. So it was close. Cool match. See you in the final round. Okay, final round against paulmaster. We're on the play. A whole lot of lands, an LED, and a duress. I think I'm going to mulligan. Although it is closer than it looks. Yeah, I'll keep this. I'm going to bottom the island. A little bit risky. But I feel like we're pretty likely to draw another land at some point. And we do have a lot of mana. Yavimai Coast pass. I will play Scary. And I'll pass. Forest into Survival. Okay. Yeah, I'll cast the Slight. LED and Dark Rit. Well, I definitely don't need Dark Rit. I think the LED, maybe I should have just held the Sleight of Hand and cast lim-duls. Could cast it now, so I can use this blue. Probably want to duress first. Alright, double swords that we don't care about, and a Gilded Drake. Alright, let's go lim-duls. That's a Future Sight. A Chromatic Sphere. So this wins next turn. Let's leave this. We'll put the lands on the bottom. Then Petal, we're going to draw the Sphere. They have brush land, so they have 1 unknown. 2, 4, 6, 9. Gonna wind up 8 post Chromatic Sphere, 5 post Doomsday, so perfect. Let's cast Dark Ritual. Cast Chromatic Sphere. LED. Hold priority, cast Doomsday. Make blue. Rack for whatever. And then Doomsday is gonna pop off. LED. Doomsday. Charm. The rest doesn't really matter. I guess I'll get a duress. Done. But Doomsday, Charm, Duress, LED, and play our Future Sight. No permanents except for Future Sight, nothing in hand. Just perfection. Black, Duress you because why not? Ebony Charm you. Recast the Doomsday. Alrighty. We got him. Blue-green Survival. We saw Brushland too, so Bant Survival. I think I want Defense Grids. I want some number of Duress, but I think Defense Grid's better against Naturalize. I still want Rushing River. We want Abeyance. 1 Stifle. Infest also seems good. From a lim-duls. From a land. Into Dark Rit. Try that. Alright, I'll keep this. We're missing blue mana. But we have some land drops to make. And if we do hit blue, we can cantrip with Slight. That's probably the worst draw in the deck. Although that's basically always the case. I'm waiting for the day that we, like, wreck 10 fins with this or something. That's a wall. LED. I've seen better draws, but it's not the worst. I don't think I'd need to run out grid immediately. I'm not really doing anything yet anyways. Meddling Mage. That one's a pain in the ass. But we have Infest. We're gonna name Doomsday. Certainly a respectable name. I think I'm gonna use Peat Bog so I can just crack this sphere right away so I can cast Sleight of Hand. There's a Future Sight. Go ahead and play another sphere. Yeah, I guess I'll play out this grid. 5 mana. Slamming a Genesis, sure. I think it's just the vanilla 4/4, right? Yep. LEDs are not bad. Alright, let's I guess technically I should just use the swamp. Make blue. Found Delta for an island, I like that. I guess I was not supposed to play that yet, actually. But not a big deal since it's a fetch land. Alright, let's show and tell. Put this Future Sight in. Hopefully they don't have a Seal of Cleansing. Alright, let's fetch for an island. Double land on top. Okay, they have 2 cards. We gotta hope they don't have a Naturalize. Otherwise, we're pretty toast. If not, we got a pretty good chance on tapping with Future Sight. They're hitting for 6. Armageddon? Well, actually not like the worst. We have Future Sight and 2 LEDs, and we have a land off the top. Now they have 1 card. Here's an LED. An Infest? Well, it does hit Meddling Mage. I guess it's worth playing Delta. Play these LEDs from hand. Make 3 black. Cast the Infest. Rushing River. Also a pretty funny one to have. Could bounce them both. I want to sack my land. If not, which one would I rather bounce? I might actually rather bounce Wall of Roots, honestly. More concerned with them playing something than I am getting hit for 4. I think I want my land. Bounce a Rooney. Land on top, don't love that. I don't know, I'll get Island. Bummer. Getting hit for 4. I mean, we might just die to this. Land. This finds a Doomsday. I don't crack for black, I'm in trouble. I'm going for it. Booyah! Right on top. And they know it. Because it's revealed, they can see it. So good. Okay, so, I mean, this deck was surprisingly smooth and powerful, honestly. Both lim-dul's Vault and Chromatic Sphere just consistently overperformed, right? It seems obvious, but then at the same time, just as a longtime player of this game, I'm very skeptical of lim-dul's Vault. Sure, you get to stack your deck, but you're going down a card. There's a reason why it's not good enough anywhere in Legacy. Sorry, Joe L. There's an individual who plays it. Although, I don't even think he's always playing it in his Legacy Dimir show and tell / reanimator deck. But for the most part, it just misses the bar of power level for something like Legacy or Vintage. I mean, Vintage, of course, it's a Demonic Tutor, Vamp Tutor, Mystical Tutor, got all the better tutors. But when you combine this with something like Future Sight and Doomsday, we saw numerous times, even just in the few matches we played here, and I certainly saw it in addition to that the other day when I was streaming it, that this card just usually wins you the game, provided you have enough resources, and if you don't have enough resources, it almost always sets up the win for the following turn. In the event that it doesn't, that's kind of the rarer case scenario, at least so far in my experience. But in that event, you can either not cast it yet, sometimes you just want to take another draw step, or if you don't have much time, you can cast it to set it up for a couple of turns, or if you have like exactly 2 turns and you can't afford to take a draw step and you just have to cast it now. There was that time where we cast it and then we just literally took 5 draw steps through the whole pile. Although one of them was my fault, because I stacked the end wrong. I thought we were going to be shuffling. But you can do stuff like that. You can put a fetch somewhere in the middle of the pile, and just say, hey, these cards are good across the next 3 turns, and in the event that things change, I can use this fetch to fetch. So that was nice. I think playing an Infest makes sense, and it felt good. I think playing an Abeyance makes sense. That also felt good. Maybe you need to tweak the mana base a little bit to support it. There was an Orm's Chant here. A lot of the times you're using it in a pile. We do have Chromatic Sphere and Petal and LED, so it's not like impossible, you know, but it is a little bit awkward. But I think if you want any chance of beating Mog Fanatic, you got to play something, right? And the problem with something like a bounce spell, I mean, Rushing River can hit 2 things. We did use it to bounce Mog Fanatic at one point. But Abeyance is just cleaner. It stops Fanatic, it stops Tormod's Crypt, it stops both of them, if they're both in play. I'd say the only thing I'm not quite sure of is Duress. I think Grid might just be better. The 2-2 split, I don't think that makes enough sense. It's few enough of both for it to be, I would think, just incorrect. If you were gonna split them, I think you would need at least 3 of each. I'm not sure that you want 6 protection, though. You might want access to Duress so that you can put it in a pile. I could see something like maybe 5 protection, 4 grid, 1 Duress, even a 3-1 split. I mean, these are small things that are only going to do so much. Another thing I was skeptical of was 2 show and tell, but after having played the deck, it does feel like the right number. If anything, you would want more. You can play 1 just so that you can feasibly find it with a lim-dul's vault, but 1 is, like 2 is so much more than 1 when it comes to looking for it with a lim-dul's vault. Like there's a lot of times where you're casting vault and your out is a pile that has show and tell. And when that pile also has to have future sight, the math is already a little bit dicey with 2. But I think just right, I could see playing 3. 4 would seem excessive, right? It's only there to put in a card that you have 4 of. 20 lands felt great. The only time it didn't was when we were playing future sight without a Doomsday, like just trying to get the wheels turning with this card. But even then, making land drops off of it is nice. And it's somewhat rare that we were just kind of running it out and hoping that it won us the game. And at that point, it's just a 5-mana value card. I think it's even more rare that you play it knowing that you're going to have to pass the turn, just crossing your fingers that they don't blow it up. Typically, I would want more cantrips, but I don't think this deck actually wants more. Because you really do want the depletion lands, and an abundance of cantrips doesn't really make sense with the depletion lands. There's already a little bit of awkwardness with lim-dul's vault and the depletion, where you wind up being forced into main phasing your lim-dul's vault, but a lot of times that's fine, especially if you're playing defense grid. I think that's even more fine. Portent could be annoying, so watch out for that one. But I look forward to playing this deck more in the future. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, and it's a lot more powerful than I thought it would be. It's slightly less complicated than I expected it to be, just because of how much people hype it up. At the same time, when I finally looked at a list and goldfished it, it is now realistically a lot more complicated than my first impression after looking at it. I will say that. But it does have that similar, I can see why people tell me that they think I would like it. It does have that high skill cap where there's a ton of, and I'm sure I've only scratched the surface, but really convoluted or nuanced situations that really reward a lot of time spent on this deck. So it has a high ceiling that if you enjoy really working on a deck and trying to master it, I think this is the sort of thing that can reward that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. There's some sideboard slots that we didn't use, some things that I don't, really have a comment on, and probably wouldn't have a solid comment on until I played it a lot more and played the format a lot. But again, like I said in the deck tech, I think it's all pretty reasonable, and a lot of it we did dip into. Yeah, but that's about it. Thank you again, Skirk. Appreciate this dono. We do have some more Doomsday coming next week. It was actually the very next dono was another Doomsday one. It's a little bit more of a challenge, we'll say, a direct challenge, making a particular, in my opinion, kind of goofy card work, but we're going to have fun with it. But I have a couple more donos in between that we're going to get to so that I don't get killed by the YouTube algorithm making a similar video. But hey, keep these pre-modern videos coming. Please, keeps me in business, keeps me busy, and is currently allowing me, amongst various other sources of content creation, but allowing me to work part-time so that I can do this part-time. So keep sending it, keep me busy, we can keep doing this. Because this format is sick, and I've only scratched the surface. There's so many decks out there, and I keep getting blown away and falling further and further in love with the format, so I'm excited for the future. But if you want to see your deck played on the channel, or a deck, send it. Look in the description below, there's links, where you can make a donation, send me the list, and we'll make it happen. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.